The risk that turned Nvidia into a trillion-dollar company. In the spring of 1993, 3 engineers sat in a Denny's diner in East San Jose, nursing cups of coffee and sketching out an idea that would one day be worth trillions. They had no product, no company name, and barely enough money to get started. What they did have was a conviction that the world of computing was about to change forever, and that they were the ones to change it. Their names were Jensen Huang, Chris Malachowski, and Curtis Priam, and the company they dreamed up over that diner table would become Nvidia. The men behind the machine. Jensen Huang was born in Taiwan and immigrated to the United States as a child. He studied at Oregon State University and later Stanford, eventually working as a director at LSI Logic and as a microprocessor designer at Advanced Micro Devices. He was, by all accounts, comfortable. He had a stable job, a good salary, and a family to support. Chris Malachowski grew up in New Jersey, graduated from the University of Florida, and had built a strong resume at Hewlett-Packard and Sun Microsystems. Curtis Priam, arguably the most technically distinguished of the 3, had also worked at Sun Microsystems and was credited with designing the very first graphics processor for the PC, the IBM Professional Graphics Adapter. The 3 men crossed paths through their work. Huang had been sent by LSI Logic to Sun Microsystems, where Malachowski and Priam were designing graphics chips. A friendship formed, but it was the shifting winds inside Sun Microsystems that would force the question, what came next? The type of graphics architecture that Malachowski and Priam specialized in was falling out of favor with the industry. When they decided to leave, they knew they wanted to start something of their own. The only problem was that their plan needed a third partner, one who wasn't particularly interested in joining them. Huang had to be asked repeatedly before he relented. As he later recalled, he finally agreed to at least sit down and think it through. And so the meetings at Denny's began, day after day, cup after cup of coffee, until the vision finally took shape. Building something out of nothing. The vision was straightforward, even if its execution would prove anything but. Personal computers were on the verge of exploding into mainstream life. Huang, Malachowski, and Priam believed that the killer application driving that explosion would be video games, and that the key to unlocking that market was 3D graphics. There was just one problem. None of them had ever actually seen a PC up close. This was the early 1990s. PCs were not yet the household staple they would become. Undeterred, the 3 men went out and bought a Gateway 2000 computer, brought it home, and promptly took it apart. The name for their company came from a habit the founders had developed when saving files. They would label them NV, short for next version, since they were always iterating. Searching for a word that contained those letters, they landed on the Latin word Nvidia, meaning envy. They adopted it into Nvidia. On April 5, 1993, the company was officially born. Funding came next. The founders had scraped together $40,000, which was nowhere near enough for what they were building.
We started a company, and the business plan basically read something like this. We're going to take technology that was available only in the most expensive workstations. We're going to try to reinvent the technology and make it inexpensive. And the killer app was video games. And so I took this idea to Sand Hill Road, and they told me there was no video game market. People don't start companies to play games. And my parents, I remember calling my mom and telling her that we would start this company, and she says, you know, what do you guys do? And I said, we build these things called 3D graphics chips, and people would use them to play games. And then she said, why don't you go get a job?
Huang reached out to his former boss at LSI Logic, Wilfred Corrigan, who pointed them toward Don Valentine at Sequoia Capital.
Wilfred said, look, if you're going to start a company, go talk to Don Valentine. And while I was sitting there, he picked up the phone and he said, hey, Don, I'm going to send a kid your way. He's one of my best employees. I'm not sure what he's going to do, but give him money.
By Huang's own admission, the pitch meeting was a disaster. He was terrified and stumbled through it. But Valentine, on the strength of Corrigan's recommendation, agreed to invest anyway, with one memorable warning on the way out. If you lose my money, I'll kill you. Nvidia launched with $20 million in funding and immediately got to work. The first fall and the recovery that saved everything. The company's first major product, the NV1 chip, arrived in November 1995. On paper, it was impressive, combining 2D and 3D graphics, video processing, audio capabilities, and a game port all in one. It was designed to be compatible with the Sega Saturn, a console that seemed like a guaranteed path to success. It was not. While Nvidia had built the NV1 around quadratic primitives, the rest of the industry, and crucially Microsoft's DirectX, was moving toward triangle primitives. The chip was also expensive. Competitors offered cheaper, more compatible alternatives. The Sega Saturn, meanwhile, flopped in the market. Of the 250,000 units Nvidia shipped to its retail partner, Diamond Multimedia, all but a handful came back. The NV2, already in development, was canceled. Staff were laid off. The company was reeling.
Our customer partner, Diamond Multimedia, we sold them 250,000 NV1s, but the retail sales wasn't very good.
But rather than collapse, the founders took what they had learned and channeled it into their next attempt. The result was the Revo 128, released in August 1997, and it arrived at the most desperate possible moment. Nvidia had roughly 1 month of payroll left. If the Revo 128 failed, the company was finished. It did not. The Revo 128, short for Real-Time Interactive Video and Animation Accelerator, was the world's first fully hardware-accelerated 3D rendering pipeline. It integrated 2D graphics, 3D graphics, and video acceleration in a single chip. Within 4 months of launch, it had sold 1 million units. The company that had nearly sold 0 NV1 chips was suddenly the hottest name in PC graphics. That near-death experience left a permanent mark on Nvidia's culture. To this day, the company operates under an unofficial motto: we're only 30 days away from going out of business. Going public and striking gold with Microsoft.
And there was this other company that went out of business at the time. And I'd heard about it. It's called ICOS. And ICOS had built this thing called an emulator, an in-system emulator. We called ICOS. They said, thanks for calling, but we're out of business.
The Riva 128 was followed by the Riva TNT, which challenged the dominant Voodoo 2 graphics card from rival 3DFX. It didn't fully surpass it, but it firmly established Nvidia as a serious player in the market. Then, on January 22, 1999, Nvidia went public. With fresh capital and growing credibility, the company released its fifth chip, the GeForce 256. At the time, it was the single largest chip ever built for the consumer market, bigger than a CPU. It was also the world's first GPU in the truest sense, a programmable accelerator that could dramatically expand what computers were capable of. The GeForce didn't just find a market in gaming, it caught the attention of Microsoft, which was developing a brand new product. When Microsoft unveiled the original Xbox at a public event, Nvidia was the company supplying its graphics hardware. The deal brought in a $200 million advance, a far cry from the days of scrambling to cover payroll. A decade of acquisitions, rivalries, and growing pains. Through the 2000s, Nvidia went on an aggressive acquisition spree, absorbing the intellectual assets of its former rival 3DFX, along with software companies, chip designers, and technology specialists. It expanded into mobile chips with the Tegra line and set its sights on the high-performance computing market. It also found itself in legal battles. The most prominent was with Intel, which sued Nvidia in 2009 for chipset compatibility. The two companies spent years in courtrooms and trading public barbs. Nvidia even launched a satirical website called Intel's Insides, mocking its rival with cartoons. The feud eventually ended in 2011 with a 6-year cross-licensing agreement, under which Intel paid Nvidia $1.5 billion. There were controversies too. A manufacturing defect in several GPU lines led to a $200 million revenue write-down and a class action lawsuit involving laptops from Apple, Dell, and HP. A false advertising suit over the GeForce GTX 970's memory specifications was settled in 2016. And in 2018, the company paid a $5.5 million fine to the SEC after GPU sales to cryptocurrency miners were improperly classified as gaming revenue, masking the volatility of that income from investors. An attempted $40 billion acquisition of ARM Holdings was announced in 2020, only to be blocked by regulators in the UK, EU, and United States by 2022. The two companies remained partners, but the deal was dead. Through all of it, Nvidia kept pushing forward. The bet that changed everything. In the mid-2000s, Nvidia made a decision that most observers on Wall Street didn't fully understand at the time. It began pouring resources into artificial intelligence and deep learning, a field that, in 2006, was largely an academic curiosity with no clear commercial path. The vehicle for this commitment was CUDA, a computing platform and API that allowed software developers to harness the power of Nvidia's GPUs for general-purpose computation. Huang believed at the time it would be a revolution. The market largely shrugged. But something was quietly happening in university computer labs. Researchers discovered that GPUs, with their ability to process massive amounts of data in parallel, were extraordinarily suited to training neural networks. At Stanford, computer science professor Andrew Ni recalled his students bringing CUDA to his attention around 2008, reporting speedups of 10 to 100 times compared to conventional processing. Similar experiments were underway from Toronto to New York. Nvidia noticed, and rather than treat AI as a side project, Huang made a decision that he later described as a wholesale pivot, one that pulled attention and resources away from the company's core gaming business. It added costs and headcount. It required new skills. It was, by all measures, a significant risk. No one knew at the time whether AI would ever be profitable. The payoff. Then came ChatGPT. When OpenAI launched its flagship product in late 2022, it reached 1 million users in 5 days. By January 2024, the platform was seeing 1.8 billion visits per month, and powering it all, the data centers, the model training, the inference at scale, were Nvidia's GPUs. Nvidia had not only built the hardware that made the AI revolution possible, it had spent years cultivating the software ecosystem, the research relationships, and the manufacturing capacity to meet the moment when it arrived.